Hetapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer, and Netzerak. This is Kasank Ma Keparu with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about how to summon a spirit. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. And now we also have free ebooks for you. I was talking with a really close friend who did not realize I had so many ebooks that I was giving away for free. You can just click on the links below and download those ebooks right away and start reading. And those ebooks expand more on my teachings and the esoteric, and they're really just packed full of good information. In fact, he had asked me, "Oh, can I get that link to the ebook you wrote?" I said, "Well, which ebook? I've written like dozens, some I don't even promote anymore. So take advantage of those free ebooks while you can. Also, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. As a supporter, you get exclusive access to content, and I'll be talking about some of that content in this video. Content on how to summon the spirit, how to do Qigong for healing, proper meditation, proper breathing techniques, how to self-hypnotize yourself to get rid of fear, anxiety, or get rid of any negative habits. And last but not least, please share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So how are you? I hope you are keeping safe, and I hope you're in good health during this COVID-19. Seems to be still moving on, still aggressive. President Trump had talked about originally getting back to normal, meaning open the businesses by Easter. Now I think he's extended that. So, which is kind of good in a way, because we have to look at this in terms of what's realistic. Just throwing out there some dates are not going to do us any good. We have to look and say, okay, when will we think that this will be contained? When will we get a handle on this? And then start focusing on maybe through a slow, progressive movement to start opening businesses, and then start to work on the schools and then other institutions. But I think throwing a date out there arbitrarily is not going to do anybody good. And as I mentioned to you before, I said one of the things that we're facing, and which is just as dangerous as the virus, is the pending and coming economic collapse. Because if we keep businesses closed indefinitely without any targeted dates, we're headed for a worldwide economic collapse never seen before on this planet. So I think his advisors, Trump's advisors, has really talked to him about this and impressed upon him the need to get back to where we were before, prior to COVID-19 hitting us. Because I'm going to be honest with you, most of you will not be affected by COVID-19. Many people, when you talk to them, don't know anybody who's been infected, and even fewer people don't know anybody who has died from it. Just because you get the coronavirus doesn't mean that you're going to, it's not a death sentence, it doesn't mean you're going to die from it. So we have to look at that and take that into consideration, because we have to say, okay, where are we at with this thing? Do we have a handle on it to the point of where we can start getting the economy rolling again? And that is of utmost importance. And unfortunately, with the stimulus packages that are coming out there, I'm afraid that it gives certain businesses incentive not to rehire their employees, because many people were laid off, let go, on leave because of this virus. Some are working remotely at home. And you know how corporations are. They're looking at the bottom dollar. They're looking at how much can they save. It's a very SEBIC trait, doing the least amount of work to get the maximum amount in return. So they're thinking, well, we don't really have to rehire the employees we let go. We can automate their positions, or condense their positions and have one person do 2 or 3 roles, because for them it's a very cost savings it's something that's very cost savings for them. But see, when you really start to understand the mindset of the Western man, it's not about morality. It's not about doing what's good for the people. You see, that is one of the traits of the Western mindset, because it's divorced of ma'at, right, wrong, truth, justice, balance, because the company should be looking out for your welfare. And unfortunately, if they see an opportunity where they can gain more money, more profits by, number one, getting the stimulus package, which is an influx of cash for them, very helpful to them, and also trimming down the employees, meaning not having to hire you back, to where they're making even more money prior to COVID-19, they have then a win-win situation when you're unemployed looking for a job, and that's not good. So I just want you to understand that although the stimulus package is great, there's a dark side to it, which unfortunately may give incentive to companies not to rehire their employees or bring them back. You may find out that your position has been phased out. That's the reality of the situation. So going back to my original point, the sooner we can get the economy rolling again, the better. And we want to get out of this fear herd mindset where everybody's just afraid, stressed out, have anxiety because of COVID-19. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, most of you will not be affected by the virus itself, but you will be affected by the economic ramifications of this. What does it mean? How do you deal with this? How do you stabilize your own family's finances? Because one thing we know, people cannot stay home indefinitely. People have to go to work. The machine has to keep working. The wheels have to keep turning. So let's just keep that in mind. So I want to turn to a very, very important point here. And this is a lesson that I learned in life, and I want to pass on to everybody out there, all my initiates or adepts in training. Life will at times throw curveballs at you. You'll get hit with things you didn't see coming. This is why it's important that you practice magic, and especially when you're dealing with a world that is not predicated upon morality, justice. The justice system that we have is a joke, really. It's the justice that's just for them, just us. Um, and the reason for that is because you're dealing with a system that is not only sexist, it's racist. And this leaves you at a great disadvantage because these people are very, very Sebek. See, Sebek, the deity Sebek or Anubis, is very clever, um, ingenious, and there lacks the morality in that. And this is what we know in terms of the values that Western society holds up high is cleverness, is ingenuity. But if you come along and you demonstrate that you're a righteous person, that you are based in Ma'at, there are no rewards for that. In fact, society shuns you. You know, even just look at the Christian ministers. You have these ministers walking around making 100 million, 150 million. You know, can you explain to me why a Christian minister needs to make $150 million, and why are they making that much money? These are questions that we need to start posing, and really taking a deeper look into this. Um, some say, well, it's a capitalistic society, and there's nothing wrong with them, taking advantage of it. And yes, there is something wrong with it. There is something wrong when you are making $200 million and you profess to be for God. There's something wrong with that. So, unfortunately, we're dealing with a civilization that does not reward you for being good, does not reward you for spiritual excellence. What it does is it rewards athletes, and sports is comes out of the Greek civilization, which is just a distraction. When Caesar wanted to commit some atrocity, he would um, have the games start. And that would be a way of distracting the mass population from what was really about to happen. Same thing with the entertainment industry. The troubadours would go around and would sing and dance. Meanwhile, Caesar or the king would be raising taxes, and taking your land. Same thing is happening in this modern day society. We're being robbed. You look at the television and you note that the most successful people, and we're going to just talk about those of the minority persuasion, the most successful people are the comedians, the court jesters, or the singers, or the athletes. They are rewarded heavily. But when you come along and you start talking about how you know how to communicate with God through the oracles, through divination, how you know how to reach a higher level of spiritual awakeness through transcendental meditation, you're ignored, you're marginalized. They don't care about you because you're dealing with a sick society. And then when the corporate world fires you or commits some type of racial discrimination, in order for you to get some type of justice, you have to be wealthy enough to hire a really good attorney that can bring their case to their court system, which is a joke because they've constructed all of the laws to favor the big major corporations. Your chances of winning is a very, very, very little. In fact, um, most companies know that they can draw out the legal system, keep you in court for years and years, and bankrupt you because you don't have the finances, the money to sustain a long and lengthy court battle. They know that. So what can we do? We're fighting a monolith, a monolithic society that is bent on crushing those who want to do right. You know, and they make it seem as if when you speak about things that don't go along with the status quo, that are not sanctioned by mass media, that you're crazy, that you're nutty, or that you're a conspiracy theorist. When the exact opposite is true, that they're crazy, they're out of their minds living the way that they do. So the only recourse that we have is to look at our magic, look at our spirituality, depend on that. In the great I Ching, it talks about how you let your magic tortoise go, meaning that you have relinquished your power and you need to get that back, meaning that the one thing that you have that no one can take away from you is your magic. And I've said this, and I want you all to understand this clearly. The reason why you have so many people playing ball with this sick society is because their money is nothing but zeros and ones. Need you to understand that. You see, when you get to a certain level of success, doesn't matter what industry you're in, could be entertainment, it could be sports. Um, the ruling elite, typically it's when you become a billionaire. The ruling elite comes knocking at your door and saying, you're going to do what we say. And if you say no, then they could easily turn those numbers, which are just digits in the bank on a computer screen, they can easily turn those ones and twos into zeros very easily. So this is why people go along with this crooked system. They have no choice. This is why you see people like Oprah Winfrey purposely doing expose programs to vilify African American men to make them look bad, because that's part of what the ruling elite wants to do, to put out mass propaganda to vilify those who are at the bottom of the racial totem pole. And they know that African American men cannot fight back. We don't have a means of mass media propaganda to counteract their programming. We don't. So they tell these individuals who have amassed some notoriety, fame, and money that if they don't play ball, they will lose all of their money quite quickly, and then the ruling elite will go on a campaign of slander to discredit these individuals. And because we operate from the herd mentality, we'll just believe everything mass media tells us. So going back to what I was saying before, when you're dealing with a crisis like COVID-19 or any other thing that comes up, whether it be 9/11 or some other type of disease, you must always think back to your magic. It is the one thing that will never fail you. All right. And this is why I spend a lot of time and effort trying to teach these things and bring these things to individuals. I had someone wrote me an email and I did a very private broadcast, and was very upset because she said, Kassan, here you're doing this wonderful private broadcast, and look how few people are taking advantage of it. And I said, well, that's always how it's going to be, because when you are putting truth out there, truth is not popular. It's not. And you won't get the masses of people following you. In fact, they're going to do just the opposite. And then, especially when you're dealing with the Latino, the African American community, which are nothing but mass consumers, they don't really have a critical eye as to what they're consuming. They go by emotions. And the ruling elite knows this. So they put out programming to arouse their animal spirit, their Sahu nature. And then you get all of these people following. This is why your Christian ministers are so wealthy, because they appeal to your emotionalism and not your critical faculties, your logic. Because if you really listen to what they're saying, they're nothing but snake oil salesmen. They're liars. They put on a facade. And because you are ruled by the animal spirit, you will go along with it and you will tithe and give all of your money to them and make them richer. It makes no sense for an old lady in Nebraska who could barely afford to pay her heating bill to give money to some of these pimp pastors. Because what she has done is she has been wooed by their smooth Sebek talk, their Sebek communication. She has not been trained to think critically, to activate her third eye so that she can see clearly. And this is the same what is going on with this broadcast. I have done a lot of work over the course of years. And if you go back and watch my videos, there were some videos I was doing with just me in one room talking about things, trying to get the message out there, telling you individuals that you need to work with the oracles. The oracles, the word of God. The oracles can tell you the truth on what's going on. The oracles can expose someone who may be come along as a leader. Now you have a means and method to determine what truth is, or who, if the person's coming to you sincerely or not. And I've spoken about the oracles and divination over and over and over again. And yet I see some of these self-proclaimed gurus on the internet talking about Kemet, talking about spirituality, and they're ignorant and dumb as all hell. They have no common sense whatsoever. And I've told people about this as well, that when you have individuals come out and try to seem like they're educated and knowledgeable, and they call themselves Imhotep or Ma'at, those names that you're taking aren't your names and were never meant for you. Did you go through a naming ceremony? No. Did you consult the oracle if that name was appropriate for you? No. Is that name in alignment with your destiny? No, because you never done a destiny reading. So you don't know. But yet these individuals have amassed a large following because it's the blind leading the blind. And they think these individuals are teaching is so deep. One of the first things I did when I learned from my African king is I pulled the oracle out and said, should I follow this person? And I got Ma'atetep. Yes. And I go online and I see some of these people, one woman speaks, and every time she's talking about a spiritual lesson, she's referencing a TV program she watched. It seems like a book is kryptonite to her. She doesn't know how to read a book. She doesn't know how to read about the occult sciences. She probably doesn't know anything about it, but yet professes to disseminate to you um, wisdom. I don't play games with this. When I tell you that I invoke spirits, I invoke spirits. When I tell you I go to the oracle and do readings, I do readings. Many people come to me and ask me, Kassan, is this true? Do you know if this is going to happen? I say, well, do your reading. Do your reading. Go to God. Go to God and do the reading. Now, again, because I understand the nature of who we are, then none of us, most of us, I should say, have not evolved beyond the lower spheres on the tree of life, which is Aset, Sebek, and Hedaru. You're not supposed to be stuck there forever, and too many of us are stuck there. You're supposed to be climbing the tree of life or the Port Neteru to get to the highest sphere, which is Oser. That's when you're not influenced by emotions, you're not controlled by emotions. But we're all stuck on stupid, listening to pimp pastors and so-called spiritualists who don't know anything. This has got to stop. And I want you to know, as hard as I am on some of you, I'm even twice as hard on myself. Because my incarnation objective, my destiny is Ma'at Hetep. That means I can't play around in this lifetime. I have to live truth. So some of you may get away with little things, but not me. I'm held to a higher standard. People come to me, what do you think about this person? What do you think about that person? I said, do the reading. I'm like, how many times do I have to tell you, do your readings? Half of you have not even bought the Meduna Ter Oracle system. That should have been the first thing you purchased so you can start doing readings on your own. And if you're in a relationship, your relationship should be governed by the Oracle system. You need to make an agreement with your mate that if you have disagreements, you will resolve it by going to the great Oracle of Tahuti or going to the I Ching. And therefore, you would not have the problems that you're having in relationships in our modern world. And I've talked about doing your meditations on a weekly basis with you and your mate. And if you have been doing that, you wouldn't have these problems in your relationships that you're having now. I've talked about how the only way to change behavior is through trance work, meditation, or hypnotherapy. But yet, you have these other individuals that come along and they lecture you and they talk about stuff and leaves you feeling good for the moment, but they've gave you nothing of substance. They've not taught you anything about how to unlock the secrets of the psyche. All they've given you is information. I had to, so a young woman, I had to bring her I had to kick that stool off from which she was standing because she thought she knew what she was talking about, by the fact that she was homeschooling her kids and advocating for homeschool. And I say that's great. You know, if you want to homeschool your kids, but you have to also understand that the system of teaching comes out of um, the Greek civilization, which is based on just memorization. That's all it is. And she was like, I don't understand what you mean. I said, well, you have to understand that everything is based on how well you parrot the information, how well you regurgitate the information. It doesn't teach you how to think, you know? See, there are faculties within you, and these faculties are your congregative faculty, your segregative faculty, your analytical faculty. And if those faculties are working correctly, they work harmoniously, and therefore you are able to think. And then throw in the mix there, you're supposed to have a third eye that you're working with. But the whole system is just based on parroting information. It's not based on how well your segregative faculty is working, how well your congregative faculty is working, how well your analogical faculty is working. It doesn't take into account that if you are taking the right supplements, nootropics, to increase brain power, to stimulate synaptic connections in the brain. That plays a very important role. And many individuals who are not doing well in school is due to a lack of the proper supplements. And if they took those supplements, they would excel. But you see, when you're dealing with the segregative, polarized left brain thinking, it separates education from health, education from God, education from meditation, education from your third eye, your pineal gland. So it does not see the connection that all those play. See, the reason why our ancestors were able to build the pyramids is because they were holistic thinkers. They made use of both the left and the right hemisphere of the brain and the third eye, the uchet. But you think that somebody comes out of the system and because of comparative information that, ooh, he's educated, ooh, he's deep, ooh, he's smart. No, he's not. No, he's not. I'm going to say it so you understand it clear. Regurgitating information is not learning. Do you understand? That is not learning. If you want to teach your children, teach them from the comedic perspective of whole brain thinking. Don't take them home and just have them commit to memory certain ideas and concepts and then think they're educated. This is why the masses of people are following the pimp pastors because you haven't awakened your cognitive faculties. It's not awake. You're not thinking. You're asleep. In ancient Kemet, we would possess certain spirits, and those spirits would give us so much wisdom and knowledge. There are entities and spirits out there ready to impart knowledge and wisdom unto you that you would not believe. But we never contact them. We never form that communion with them. Because our mind is so limited in thinking. So I wanted to let you know that coming up in my Patreon, I'm going to do 2 new courses in Patreon. And I really love Patreon because it's an opportunity for me to communicate with those individuals who are serious and want real knowledge. And it also is an opportunity for me to have a discourse with you, whereas this YouTube doesn't afford us an opportunity to have that type of communication. So the first new course I'm going to have is how to summon spirits. Now, why is this important? This is important because when you get yourself in situations, dire straits, where you have no means to get out of, you can call upon a benevolent spirit who can assist you, who can go out there and do the work for you. Give you example, someone has done you wrong and you don't have enough money to take them to court. No lawyer would take your case pro bono. You can summon the spirit of justice, and that spirit will go out there and he would either find you a great attorney that will champion your cause, or it will um, get justice on you in some form, justice for you. Unfortunately, too many people think about, summoning spirits, to think about the negative connotations that go with that from the Western mainstream programming. No, these beings and these entities are there to help us. So I want to teach a little bit about how to summon these beings, how to send them out on missions to help us. There are entities out there who can help us get, or help you with finances, to bring you more money, to bring you a better job, to bring you a career. There's some out there who can bring you a mate. As I said before, life can kick your ass. But when you have these things in your arsenal, then you have something to fall back on. For a long time, I didn't know that the ancestors had set this up to where I would get my butt kicked. And every time I got my butt kicked by life, it felt like I had nowhere to turn. No one would help me. What could I do? Until I realized that all those things were being done to awaken me to the fact that you've got to depend on your magic, Kasank. You've got to study it and implement it. So in the Patreon, if you are a Patreon supporter, you'll have access to this course on summoning spirits. And the 2 books that we're going to be working for is Constantino's Summoning Spirits. And this is the Art of Magical Evocation. This is a really good book. And it's actually a condensed version of this book by Francis Bardon, The Practice of Magical Evocation. And this book is phenomenal here. It goes through all of the different spirits. So you find the spirit that deals with a particular issue you may be having, and you summon the spirit, and you have a communication, and you talk with the spirit and ask the spirit to assist you in a certain endeavor. And you don't need to be afraid of this. These spirits are natural and they're of God. And in fact, these spirits look upon you as their master. This is why you command them. You bring them into this plane of existence and then you send them out on a mission. And there's hundreds of spirits. So you'll find one that will deal with this present situation you're going through. So I don't want to hear individuals saying, "Oh, well, I got this going on and it's terrible. I don't know what to do." Well, you should summon the spirit to help you with that situation. Okay. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you should get either one. And if you're in a position, get both. There's a great Summoning Spirits, The Art of Magical Evocation, in Francis Bardon's book. This one is a must-have if you're a really serious magician. Okay. Now the next course that I'm going to be dealing with is Qigong, and when I first, my background, I've had a lot of like experience with like Tai Chi, uh, Japanese and Chinese martial arts, and it wasn't until I stumbled onto Qigong that I saw fantastic results. Usually, if you're practicing some of these other Eastern arts, it takes a while for you to see results. But when I started working with the Qigong, I was like, wow. Like I had an injury, and just by doing the Qigong exercises, I felt no pain whatsoever. And the Qigong mantras are some of the most powerful mantras that are out there. I really advise for you to work with those mantras. So the two books that we're going to be working on for that is the Tree of Life Qigong. This is a really good book. All right, and the other one is Qigong Healing Prescriptions. And one of the things I really loved about Qigong was there's an exercise where it teaches you how to create an energy ball. And an energy ball you can send out to heal people, or you can send out on missions to do certain things for you. And this is why I'm only offering these courses to Patreon, because some of this stuff, if you're not spiritually evolved, could be used for negative means. And I don't want you guys out there to be doing that. You should always be living by Ma'at, living truth, you know. But this is what you're not going to get with these other individuals out there who tend to focus on the regurgitation of information, and you mistakenly believe that that means that they're knowledgeable or that their character has been raised to a high level of spirituality when it's not. When it's not. You see, doing spiritual work is not easy, especially on yourself. It's easy for me to talk to you and say, you know what, you should be doing your readings, you should be doing meditations. But it's a whole nother thing for myself to be doing those on a constant basis, because you're constantly being programmed by this society, subliminal programming. It's constantly trying to get you to do things that are detrimental. I had an opportunity, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, where I kind of like binged, what's called binge watched a number of Tyler Perry movies back to back. I watched them. I must compliment Tyler Perry for building a movie studio, but his movies are God. Oh my God. I mean, I was just like, this is like, these movies are horrible, you know? And I don't mean horrible from a technical perspective. They're made well, but I mean, the messages that they're communicating to people is bad. I'm like, why are people watching these things, you know? I don't, I mean, oof. But, you got to give it to him. He knows um, what appeals to people. He knows how to entice your animal spirit. He's very clever at that. So you got to give him his props for that. But the message, ooh, you know, leaves a lot to be desired. So those are the two courses I am going to be offering coming up in April on Patreon. If you're not already a supporter, you should do so. Sign up right away. And as a supporter, remember, you get all your Oracle readings free. And you should be doing your Oracle readings every week, every month. Okay. Therefore, nothing will surprise you. The oracles will warn you of things that may come along and affect you personally. All right. So, sorry for the late night broadcast, but I wanted to bring this up. So, I want to thank you, Magi's, for jumping in here. This is Kasak Ma Kiparu, son of Maat and Tuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, stay at peace, stay safe. Amen Ra.